this time we're in France for the four-wheel drive large-scale off-road EFRA European Championships. But this show basically is 100% devoted to these huge large-scale two-stroke gasoline-powered vehicles, because we're also in Latvia with HPI racing at the FIA World Rallycross event, where race drivers and fans will compete to lay down their fastest lap with an awesome HPI Baja SC. But first, let's see how the pros do it in the main final with our commentator, John Hindhoff.
So a new body style for us here on RC Racing in association with Samba Exhaust, HPI Racing and Graphil Bodies. It's the European four-wheel drive short course challenge. Sven Rodenwald on the pole position from Persiat, Sartell and Lagier, the three Frenchmen. Then it's Steve Jones from the UK, another Frenchman, Gregory Jury, in 6th, another Frenchman, Alec de Pantou, in 7th. Then it's Trotman, Spence and Reiners Visser from Holland making up the top 10. So the French flag, the tricolour, about to get things underway, and we are racing. No pit stops here. It's a race to the checkered flag, and straight away these short course truck bodies getting airborne, and there's a touch. Let's expect to see a bit more side-to-side action. The wheels are covered up rather than exposed in the buggies that we're more used to seeing on this type of circuit. So Rodewald leads, Valentin Persiat in second place, and that is Jerome Sartell on the black and white truck. This track has really been given the hammer over the last few days, particularly the four-wheel drive have really torn it up. It's been dry, believe it or not, started as a grass track. You can see one or two remnants of it, but the drivers throughout the heats and the qualifiers have been keeping on the racing line, as you'd imagine, and that has got quite badly cut up here. One or two of the drivers scratching their heads for setup of their trucks here. These enclosed bodies, I do think they look very good indeed, and also the colour schemes, a little bit more bodywork, so a little bit more freedom to be creative here. But these larger scale vehicles looking very good indeed on the off-road circuit. They're big, they're heavy, and they're exciting, and they can go wheel to wheel. As through goes Persiat, briefly in the lead, and there's a touch while they were both in the air. Spectacular roll from both of them. As through comes Jerome Sartell, but only gets through in that black and white truck into second place. That's the sort of action that has been keeping the decent-sized crowd here very interested indeed over this week of racing. So into the lead then, Persiat, just trying to kick the rear end of the truck around. It's very, very difficult because the circuit's so bouncy. Here's that attack. Oh yes, you see, nobody's fault that. That is the absolute definition of a racing incident. Both trucks getting airborne and just colliding in the air. And at that point, I'm afraid Sven Rodenwald just his truck just getting kicked out to one side. Normally we'd see these trucks drifting around a little bit more, but so difficult to try and find a piece of circuit that is certain enough under your wheels. And there's a perfect example there. Leader doing nothing wrong, with just finding a bump or a hole that he either didn't see or maybe wasn't even there last time around. And as this goes on, I am positive we will be seeing more variety of lines as the lead is being disputed again and does change. Wow, that was lucky, because if Persiat's truck landing on Sartell there, if Sartell hadn't been there, I think Persiat was off the circuit in a quite big way. Banging off the side walls there. This is a European Challenge event, so not a full European Championship as yet. A bit like a demonstration event in the Olympics. Expecting to have this confirmed as a full EFRA European Championship next year. Certainly been popular with the spectators as well as with the competitors, and I understand why. mimicking the off-road trucks that are so popular in 1-to-1 style. They do move around a lot, and they have been very entertaining. These machines weighing a decent amount, sitting down a little more. Well, actually, you can see that they're sitting down a little more at the back. The buggies, they're not a massive different setup from the buggies. Obviously, it's a different body style, but they do mimic their 1-to-1 cousins in how they can drive with the front wheel, inside front wheel hanging off the ground. And had we had slightly smoother conditions, I think we'd be seeing a bit more of that, with the inside rear wheel getting right underneath the bodywork and driving hard off the corners. The problem is, at the moment, trying to get a nice even throttle response to find the grip has been very difficult in this final. And you can see there, they're just trying to keep the truck on the straight and narrow for our leader. Very hard indeed. Going past Reiners Wiese there. Goes a lap down to the leader. Just starting to become a bit of a problem. The drivers are stationed just to the left of our camera shot here, down the main straight. Fortunately, the wind blowing in the opposite direction at the moment and taking most of the dust away. There's the drivers just above the pits there. We won't be using the pits in this. These vehicles can do the full trip of the final. I would like to see these do longer races. It'd be great getting these guys coming into the pits. Not sure I'd want to be the pit crew with something that size and shape coming towards you. And there's a roll. Second place, Valentin Persiat, just catching a little bit of the side of the circuit there and taking him out of contention. Now that's Sven Rodenwald in second position now. Just caught a quick shot of the leader there. So there's our leader. Well, hang on. Where's Sartell? He has driven off the track from the lead. Just saw how big that truck was there as the marshal picked it up again. Size of a small child. So he's dropped back to third position. That means that the black and white truck is leading. So there's Rodewald leading. Just going underneath our camera shot now. Persiat laps the darker coloured truck there in our shot, the mostly black truck. Then the black and white truck is in third. So the bigger these things get, sometimes the more confusing it can be. I like these. I really like these trucks. I think there's a future for them, and I do hope this is confirmed next year as a World Championship. There's a few different body styles. The sort of bars of buggies, different chassis as well, as we're looking at now. Sort of a Dakar style buggy, if you will, or a Baja buggy. And then you've got a more off-road truck version that has the more pronounced pickup bed. See one or two of those out there. There's different chassis out here as well. And I do like the fact that some of them have got proper old-fashioned mud flaps behind the rear wheels. Whether that's actually doing anything to keep the dust down, I'm not sure. You can see it there actually on the one of Sven Rodenwald. But you see the difference in the body to the truck ahead, which is much more of a pickup truck style. I just think it gives a bit of variety, gives a bit of an opportunity for people to do their own thing, and it's nice to see. Oh, yellow flags are out. That means we had someone on the track there. Now, that's in 1-to-1 racing, that would be a crashed car. Here, it's a marshal on the track recovering a crashed buggy. And the reason that yellow flag is you do not want 13 kilos hitting you at 45, 50 miles an hour. That is clearly not going to do the marshal any good at all. Persiat in second. marshals, by the way, are made up of drivers from the other heats. Everyone has to do their marshalling or provide someone to do it. So if the drivers are busy doing something else, someone from their team or someone has to go and do it. They have to find it, and if not, you are subject to sanction. So that is part of the regulations. You can't just walk away and not take your marshalling responsibilities. And oh, big sideways moment there for the number 2 of Persiat. And that is Sartell putting the pressure on there. Sartell not running in his normal colours here when he's running the buggies. He normally has a bit of pink. He's got an off-the-shelf shell there. So not quite even had time to put his normal pink livery on that. That's a Lawsey that he is running in that black and white truck in 3rd position. He's getting that back end out. That looks fabulous, doesn't it? So down towards the first corner. Earlier on this week, we were seeing that yump being used right across. Now it's only the centre. And this track is changing even as we go through this final. Brought to you by Samba Exhaust, HPI Racing and Graphil Bodies. The European 4-wheel drive short course challenge for 2016 here in France.
Still to come, awesome HPI Baja SC action at the FIA World Rallycross Championship in Latvia. But first, it's back to John.
This is the battle for second. Close quarters running. And still, the number 2, Valentin Persiat from France, holding off his countryman, Jérôme Sartell. Sartell, just for a moment there, I thought he was going to go down the inside. Now traffic, all kinds of traffic as they come through. Oh, you can see how hard it is, and second place has just gone off. Look at the size of that machine. Bodywork being lifted at the front, just the marshal desperate to get it back on the circuit as quick as possible and to get Persiat back in the race. That is, I think that's Thomas Loiger, who is about to be lapped in the number 4 with the fluorescent front end. Stays out the way. Another lapped car there, and there's our next car. That is our 3rd place truck at the moment. That is the number 2 of Valentin Persiat. See how hard that suspension is working around here. Really, you are barely in control of the car. It's just floating from bump to bump. It must be so difficult to control these cars, always having to make adjustments just on what the car is doing on the surface. Normally, you expect to turn a buggy or a truck like this in and drift it through the corner, and that's the control inputs that you're putting in. But here, with the surface being so unpredictable, you really are tracing almost a different line every lap and getting a different result to what you're doing every lap. It's almost like being on a brand new track every lap, sort of. I wonder if this is the RC equivalent to rally driving, where you're basically coming blind to every corner and not really knowing where the grip's going to be. Now, that's Sartell. Oh, that's Persiat's gone through there. So that's a change for second place. So Sartell has dropped back. Number 2, Valentin Persiat, has gone through into second place. So 2 and 3 in positions 2 and 3. And Sven Rodewald out at the head of the field. So as we were when we started. Can't say that it's not been without incident to this point. Oh, another tiny mistake, but these trucks are so resilient and easily able to climb back onto the circuit there, as Persiat just about holds on to second place. All that hard work for the ground that he'd made. Oh, and doubled it and just about holds on to the whoops there, so he gave that a go. It'll be interesting to see if he tries that next time around. We haven't seen a lot of that since the early practice sessions when the landing area was much smoother. and the takeoff area and everywhere in between, actually. So that was maybe a little try to see what sort of ground he was going to land on. Let's see if he does it again this time around, if he can get off the side bolsters, which he can't. And Persiat loses second, but he's right there again on Sartell. Sartell then, does he double? No, he doesn't, and neither does Persiat, but still doesn't get a good run from the midfield whoops. Down into the hairpin, and now onto the banked final right-hander. Now early on this week we were seeing full four-wheel drifts through there on full power. Very spectacular, and indeed now the drivers are checking up before they go into that first jump. As Persiat goes back into second, they're not catching Sven Rodenwald, who leads this at the moment. In fact, they're slowing each other up. And Rodenwald, if he was looking back, which I'm sure he won't be, because I'm sure he's absolutely focused on his own truck at the moment. Take your eye off this for a second, it could be bouncing off the circuit all over the place. But if he was, I think he'll have a little smile on his face that they are just holding each other up. Back marker to be passed by these two. Trying to look around the track to see where Rodewald is at the moment. Can't pick up his truck at all, he's that far ahead. Got to be 6 or 7 seconds ahead of this at the moment. Flash of green ahead, there we are with the purple rear end on the truck. As Sartell's gone off again and back on. That was a little expedition there for a moment. I suppose we could call that a four-wheel drive mini adventure. Just look how difficult. These guys are the best in Europe at doing this, and they are finding it difficult to even keep the trucks on the track. Rodewald has gone through. There he is. And his lead's come down a little bit here. Now, I didn't see him have a problem. Has he just decided to take things easy? Fuel should not be an issue. So that's not even in the calculations at the moment. He's been out there for a long time on his own. I wonder if his pace has just dropped. It's easy sometimes to get into a groove. Well, it's much easier to win when your competitors keep putting themselves on the side or on the roof as well. Sartell then back into second with Persiat in third. Sartell, number 3. And again, just look how much that truck is moving around, and how, in some ways, the driver is having to anticipate those bumps and work out where to put the truck next, even when it's barely in contact with the ground. Keeping the trucks much more on the ground than they were in qualifying because of that uncertainty of the landing area. Those whoops now are getting very difficult. Almost having to rock crawl up those rather than flying them as they were early on. Haven't seen our leader for a little while, but trust me, he's still out there. There's our second place car off! The truck is off and gone. Now, where's the closest marshal? Answer on the infield. So Persiat goes through and takes a huge advantage. Meantime, the poor marshal's got to climb down the hill. Hopefully, he's got his crampons and he can abseil down to pick that truck up. That is a very long way off the circuit. And ultimately, I think that's going to cost Sartell dearly. He's, I think, going to hold on to third position. No, he hasn't. He's dropped even further back from that. As they come through again, as our leader, who, having seen his lead, if not decimated, certainly taken quite a lot back, but he's now just taking it easy, isn't it? But look at the holes at the apices of the corners. I'm not sure actually driving the normal racing line is the way to do. You can see how much of those curbs there are sitting proud of the mud. Yeah, smart to go around the outside of the burn on the cushion. Oh, that's Sartell. So it has been recovered from the far side of the circuit. And there he is looking down very sensibly with some protective goggles on, which I notice are a yellow tint there to try and help him see through the dust. So Persiat now in second place. That looks really tough over there now. Front end suspension having to work very, very hard indeed. So Rodewald is on his last lap and gets absolutely nailed on the second of the whoops. It's not going to stop him though. Our European four-wheel drive short course challenge winner for 2016 goes across the line. Sven Rodewald wins it. Valentin Persiat in second. Alexandra de Ponthieu is going to come through in third place. And the Swiss driver Melanie Trottmann comes through from 8th place to 4th.
Well, congratulations to Dario Vaselli and indeed to Andreas Bakarov winning the inaugural HPI Baja Fast Lap Dirt Track event. And there's plenty more of that coming later in the series. Let's take a look at some of the thrills and spills of this year's RC Racing.
Checkered flag waves, and Giovanni Verbrugge is the European champion.
2 corners to go. Boots got them. Boots is champion. Boots takes it.
More turn. He's going to come across the line and be crowned world champion.
And if you want to catch more events like this live and in full, or why not delve into our 10-year archive, just head over to rcracing.tv. Well, that's all we've got time for this month. See you next time with more cracking RC action.